Ladies and gentlemen, it's your Lord and Savior Goonerfist here, and I was just wondering if perhaps maybe noticed a little something different about me this time around. No, seriously, you literally don't notice anything at all. Alright, bro, whatever, man. Today we got more nonsense coming from the Fandom Pulse couple. You know, the two dudes that basically dress up in furry outfits and, give each other reach arounds and all that extra stuff. Yeah, those two losers. Because now they are going after Expedition 33, even despite the game being beloved by essentially everyone. These two losers have to stand out and actually bitch and whine about nothing. I mean, just look at the critic and user review score on Metacritic. Everything is telling us that, hey man, everyone is throwing everything aside in order to enjoy this game and really just be happy about it. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about this game. Genuinely, it has taken gaming by storm. A little development team of 33 people put together some insane magic, and I'm so happy to see the game doing so well. But then we have the Grifter Butt Buddies here, who essentially started out with an endorsement of Expedition 33. And Yorch Torch Games here says, "Gamers, which game would you buy?" To which John Del Rose offers the reach around and says, "Expedition 33 all day long." Yo, these dudes are so cringe, bro, but it gets even worse because that's just how it started. How's it going, you may ask? Well, from Yorch Torch Games, he says, "Gamers, the Expedition 33 reports are true. How does a game that opens with a sauntered, early 1900s Paris set to a beautiful French song end up with a town full of characters straight out of South of Midnight?" What he wants to say is, end up with black characters in the game. He's too much of a pussy to just say it outright, so he has to reference another game to talk about black people in this game. And then he goes on to say, "It breaks immersion. It disrespects European culture." And then, of course, John De La Rose offers yet another reach around and says, "Oh no, they're erasing white people again." Holy shit, where do I even begin in discussing exactly how wrong these two butt buddies are? Well, I guess first off, we can just state that Africans have migrated to France since the 19th century. A lot of that was actually to escape the United States because of the insane prevalent racism there at that period of time. France was actually kind of a safe haven for Africans, since post 1794 when they abolished slavery. And the abolition of slavery was influenced by the Haitian Revolution in France during that period of time. And the fact that I even have to discuss historical facts when we're talking about a fictional video game, someone deserves a good fucking slap. Not for nothing. But that's the entire point. This is a fictional video game. This is a fantasy world inspired by French architecture and aesthetics, assholes. But guys, despite me being annoyed, there is definitely some positives to report on because, well, more people are starting to turn against these two weirdos. Specifically, a lot of big creators that for a while were actually ignoring or kind of siding with John Della Backhole as well as Yorch Torch Games. The person now specifically going out of their way to speak out against these two Riris is Endymion. Now, mind you guys, I'm not a fan of Endymion. I think that he also is another one of those people that is over the top as hell when it comes to complaining about video games, films, all that. And yes, a lot of this stuff definitely deserves criticism, don't get me wrong, but Endymion's the type of dude, he's essentially a crow just waiting for the next carcass to pick at. And recently, he actually tried to set up Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster. He was basically beating the war drums beside Grums as they both tried to plant the seeds to basically make Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster their next victim. But I and many others pretty much flamed the shit out of them to the point where they pretty much backpedaled almost immediately. It was absolutely hilarious. But yes, even this dude, Endymion, has turned on Yorch and JDA. Endymion says, "Dude, it's not set in the real world. Clair Obscur is inspired by French architecture. It's not literally France. It's called Lumiere. This is what I roll my eyes at, because people will take someone like this, that I'm convinced must be an agent of the government who's paid to look like a dumbass on purpose to make Gamergate look stupid, and they'll think anyone who is pro Gamergate is like this guy when it's just him and a few others. There's genuinely no other explanation besides you're out of touch. Claire Obscure is not woke. This is just embarrassing, and I personally don't think this guy represents Gamergate or anything like that at all. This is just being stupid. Fucking hell, this is embarrassing, man. Stop. And look, don't get me wrong, I appreciate Endymion finally saying something, but that's kind of the point. He waited until now to finally say something, and I have to ask why, because he seemed to just be silently, aligned with these types of weirdos. I really do think at this point, Endymion is starting to realize that there are many parts of the anti-woke spectrum that are turning on him, as well as people like Yorch Torch here. And I do think that this is a cheap way to kind of just make himself seem like he's more middle ground than he has been the past few months. What's supposed to stop lunatics like this from gaining any sort of platform or power off rip is for people like Endymion to basically smite down the extremism off rip. Like, you're one of the bigger faces of Gamergate too, right? You should have been on this shit months ago, because they've been acting a complete fool for a while, and guess what? You silently let this shit happen. I do have to give a shout out to a lot of people in the Gamergate 2 community that have spoken out against these people, because a lot of us do like to tend to our own yard, thankfully. That's what makes us different from the people that we do criticize. But people like Endymion and Yorch Torch, they are no different from the people that we criticize, and they prove it, sad to say. I'm convinced that Endymion is doing this for optics, and I'm convinced that Yorch Torch and JDA do what they do for clout. Yorch Torch here, being attacked by his once hero, says, "Hey, Endy, the modern audience does exist and you're part of it. That's why you stand for nothing." Endymion says, "I stand for nothing? Bro, you've done nothing for Gamergate but make it look terrible. Me and others actually put our livelihoods on the line during the height of censorship to fight back against the nonsense. You showed you up randomly once it was quote unquote cool to talk about it. Don't ever compare what I do to you. You're 100% some shill paid to make Gamergate look bad, or you're an idiot. Either way, you're just made things worse. It's sad to see, to be honest." And what Endymion is saying really just makes everything that I've been talking about even all the more true. If you saw this dude acting like a clown, basically torpedoing the movement, why didn't you say something earlier, dude? Is it maybe because, unlike Nure, who was criticizing you for being on some bullshit, Yorch Torch here for a while was glazing your ball sack, that you decided to overlook his fuckery? Come on, bro. Yorch Torch goes on to say, "I'm not the problem. The problem is that you and your buddies are so drunk on relativism that you can't get a strong footing on anything anymore. As soon as a game gets popular, you guys are too afraid to call out the wokeness because you're not conservatives." Endymion goes on to say, "You're too deep in your own ass to listen to anyone else's opinion, and it's sad. All you've done is ruin the image of Gamergate. You don't stand for it. You're just making things worse every time you tweet. Sad." What's crazy is Yorch Torch then responds with what I can only describe as this insane manifesto. It's so crazy, bro. Listen to this shit. Yorch goes on to say, "Here's what happened to you and your buddies. Your ego led you guys to believe you were the ultimate authority on gaming. You enjoyed YouTube clout, the super chats, the glamour. I didn't have any of that. I started my account from zero, and in less than a year I got your attention just by saying the truth. I never saw you as my enemy, and I certainly don't see you as my enemy, but you see me as one, not because of myself per se, but because of what my account represents, because my takes expose your own moral and logical contradictions, and you're desperate to find in me a scapegoat because you can't stand appearing in front of your audience as inconsistent or weak or both. In all your planning and scheming, you never realized that a more conservative voice would rise because of the shifting cultural environment. You never even considered a voice as such. It's evident, and you certainly don't like being associated with a conservative voice. Here's how you fix that. Stay congruent, stay coherent. As I tell my friends and followers, if you stay strong on the small, you stay strong on the great, and try to be a bit funnier. It'll help your brand. Bro, I can't believe this fucking guy is real life. Oh my god. Yo, this dude actually really believes he's some sort of revolutionary right now. It's so fucking hilarious. It goes to show that these people are no different from the people that they hate. They prove it every single time, bro. People like this didn't care about Gamergate 2 to begin with. They just wanted to hijack it for their own. And I got news for you, man. Most people who are part of Gamergate aren't even conservative to begin with, especially when it comes to entertainment. Most people are either displaced liberals that saw the left going completely off a cliff, or you have libertarians that just saw these authoritarian pigs gaining so much ground and they were just like, get the fuck out of here, dog. Even a lot of conservatives who are politically conservative when it comes to entertainment, they're not so conservative, man. And they definitely don't want to be ruled by religion. They just want good entertainment. This motherfucker is literally the Jehovah's Witness of being against leftist authoritarianism, I swear. But if you notice, guys, Yorch Torch said the quiet part out loud. He said, hey, you guys got the fame, you guys got the glamour, you guys got the money. I'm here running my fucking gullet on Twitter for fucking pennies to try and steal your movement out from under you. That's literally what he said. He would constantly fondle Endymion's ballsack along with other prominent Gamergate 2 YouTubers just to try and get on their good side so that they would hopefully signal boost him so that they can unnaturally hijack the Gamergate movement and lead it down this very extremist authoritarian mindset that is in essence the same as the leftist authoritarians that we constantly have criticized over the years. Endymion wants to make it seem like these guys are government plants so that it alleviates the responsibility that he has in letting this get out of hand to begin with. These aren't government plants. This is just greed. Something that Endymion's a little bit, he takes part in himself, not for nothing, brother. And don't get me wrong, guys, we all want to be seen and heard. It's kind of why we speak out to begin with, right? But what is the motivation with why we want to be seen and heard, right? With Yorch, it's nefarious as fuck. Very clearly so. But yeah, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I think this is honestly one of the best videos I've done so far. I do also hope that you really like the new PNG avatar because, well, good homie of mine, shout out to my boy Attendo, worked really hard to essentially bring goonerfist to life in a different format, brother. So appreciate you, dog. Big shout out to the homie. But if you guys can, please like and really share this video out. I think it's really important to have this conversation. And overall, subscribe to the channel. I'm really close to 500 subs at this point. I mean, we just passed 400, so less than 100 to go, and I'll be at that 500 mark, really trying to get there. So any assistance is greatly appreciated. Follow me over on Twitter at Mario Kart if you want to continue the conversation. And go subscribe to my main channel, Cult Classic Cage, for, all future content, really. And I'm Goonerfist with God Gooning Speed.